welcome to The Poll, the show where we talk about comics that came out this week. As always, I am joined by Joel. You can find him over on Twitter, at Cape Joel. And today we have a super awesome, extra special guest, Professor Thorgy, Aaron himself. He is here to talk to us about comics. How you doing, Aaron?
I'm doing okay. I am sweltering in 92 degrees super humid heat, but hey, it's that time of year.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. For those who don't know Professor Thorgy, if you're living under a rock, I guess, tell us all about yourself. What do you do?
That could be a very small rock. I'm not that big, but thank you. But yeah, I have kind of a general geekiness channel, but it's mostly known for the comic book stuff. Every single Wednesday, I have a comic book video go up. In fact, just yesterday, I did my top 20 personal favorite Spider-Man stories, which had about 50 honorable mentions because I'm a huge Spider-Man nerd. But then also on the weekends, we do movie reviews and spoiler talks. We do about one a week for whatever the big movie is that week. But occasionally we also talk about video games. We talk about TV shows, but it's mainly comic books and movies.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Well, it sounds like a lot of fun, and we'll talk more about that at the end of the show. But for right now, we got a lot of comics to talk about. A couple that are kind of big this week, but don't worry, we will talk about those, so you won't miss them. They're gonna come. But we're not gonna start off the bat with one of those. We're gonna start instead with Defenders number 3. Joel, why don't you tell me about that one?
Yeah, so this is actually one of 2 Bendis books we're covering this week on the show, which is kind of amazing, isn't it?
It is.
You know, Brian Michael Bendis, he's a creator, takes a lot of flack, some of it deserved, some of it not so much. I have to say, though, Defenders might be one of my favorite things he's written in a very long time. He's in his element. He's writing street level. He's writing characters he clearly has a passion for and who he really gets and understands. This continues to be the story of this newly assembled team battling the resurrected Willis Stryker, aka Diamondback, and they do this great movie thing where it's it's the man on the street segment where they're asking people, well, who is this Diamondback and what's his deal? And they catch you up on his origin, and I thought that was really well done and really well put together.
Yeah,
That's something that Bendis loves to do a lot, and this is the first time in a while that it felt real. When he was doing that in the Avengers with stuff, it's that this doesn't fit, man. Here it fits.
Yeah.
It's perfect right here. This is exactly where it should be.
And you get some cool cameos from actual characters in there that I thought was a nice touch. You see Misty Knight in her silk robe at her kitchen table cleaning her gun with a robot arm, talking about it.
That's what she does.
I was trying to figure out after that. I was like, okay, is everyone something? Because that's Ben Urich down there. I think that's Claire Temple up there.
Yeah.
I was trying to pick everybody in there. there's one lady who's just surrounded by very wealthy stuff and has a tattoo with initials on her chest. I was that has to be somebody. Who the heck is that?
I think Bendis is showing just his how big is my nerd reference dick right now, where it's I bet none of you know who this is. You all caught that Paladin reference a couple issues ago, but you're not gonna catch this one.
Bendis once every month, he's just got one day off to just go into the Marvel vault and just flip through old books and go, I'm gonna use you, I'm gonna use you. You're coming back, but you're gonna be a villain and crazy, but I'm gonna use you in something. And it's he loves to just reference old stuff.
Sure does. The big thing about this issue is that the Punisher has now gotten involved in this fight between the Defenders and Diamondback. A Frank Castle who looks more like John Bernthal every issue, doesn't he? He's even wearing Bernthal's jacket now. And his big deal is well, y'all want to fight Diamondback, but I want to kill Diamondback, so if you got involved, I wouldn't be able to murder him near as good.
Yeah,
so that's a problem.
He comes off as extra crazy in this issue.
He really is. Daredevil even says he's a crazy person in case you don't remember.
Yeah, but
he's got one line in there that I absolutely loved, in which he's got a gun at someone's head and goes, I don't want to die like this. And he goes, sure you do. Why else would you pick this line of work? And I was like, that's the most Punisher line I've ever heard. Right? That was perfect.
I totally read that in the Thomas Jane low growl that he goes, why else would you choose this life? That's what I read it in. And it's great too where Luke Cage actually sneaks up on the Punisher in this moment, and even Frank's since when do you stealth? Since when are you quiet? Hey, try having a kid who naps.
Yeah, that was
That's
rough.
so good.
Maybe you should have some kids. Yeah, I did.
And that was
murdered.
Oops.
like every single thing about that exchange, like that whole section in there was great. Like even the way it ends when I love that Luke Cage just takes him out because like there's nothing the Punisher can do against Luke Cage. But I love that he just takes him out, and then as they're taking him off, Daredevil just goes, you know he's going to kill a bunch of people in prison and then escape within like a couple of minutes. And he's like, well, way to ruin the big party here. Okay, great. Way to rain on our parade.
Between this and Secret Empire, there really seems to be like an actual concentrated effort to really make the Punisher into an anti-hero again, to really stress the superhero community does not like him. They do not like dealing with him.
Yeah.
The only reason they don't arrest him is because, well, he makes their job a little easier sometimes.
Right. It also does a really good job of reminding readers to be like, he's not a hero, guys. He's a crazy person. Don't forget that, okay?
Yeah.
I know in the show he seems kind of cool and he's a little unhinged and you feel bad for him, but he's a lunatic. Also, Joel, before you keep going, I just want to give a quick shout out to Mr. Giggles. Thank you so much for the super chat. He says, hey guys, nice to see the Joel and Tiff show. Of course, we have a special guest today, so that's awesome. So thank you so much. All right, get
Heart punch for you. Now, the big like finale of this issue is them like once again trying to corner Diamondback at Club Ultimate. I mentioned it before, but I'll say it again. Oh, Bendis, you tricksy hobbit, working in the Ultimate Universe wherever you can.
I know, right? And I love the bouncer there. Like, yeah, no, like Bendis is the bouncer keeping you out of the Ultimate Universe. Like, no, you can't.
I didn't think about that. That's good. I know the place where he's at in the beginning is like some family restaurant called Herbie's. So it's like, I love this idea that every single like place where Diamondback is hiding out is just a reference to something else.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
So yeah, Jess and Iron Fist, they're only scouting him out, and we find out apparently he has Slenderman powers, and if you look at him in a camera too long, he can teleport right to you.
Yeah, apparently.
I'm loving this mystery that Bendis is setting up of like, okay, even we know people come back from the dead all the time. This is weird even for him to come back from the dead. Like, this is one of those, like, no, you don't come back from this. And now he's got weird, crazy superpowers. Like, I'm automatically, like, thinking in my head, it's clearly not him. It's clearly going to turn out to be somebody else.
Right.
Who on earth is it? Or maybe it is him and he made a deal with Mephisto to come back or something. Yeah. And now he's got weird demon powers.
Skrull. Bendis loves Skrulls. Wouldn't that be something?
Oh, no, that would not be
Oh,
something.
no, the Skrulls are all gone, guys. Didn't you hear? They're not here anymore. Yeah.
No.
Hey, the Ultimate Universe was all gone too, but we're going to talk about that this week too.
Oh.
All right, save it.
But yeah, this book continues to be really awesome and really good. It's totally up my street level true crime alley. I'm genuinely in love with this book now. It's the series is still young at only 3 issues, and again, Bendis, I know him well enough to know that like he'll really be concentrating and really love the first 2 volumes. Then he'll take a million more projects. And then maybe the book he loved will start to suffer for a little bit. But this is the honeymoon period right now, and we're so very much in love, me and Defenders.
Right.
It always feels like Bendis has a pitch for a book. Like, it feels like he goes in that office and he lays out an amazing idea for it. And then like, all right, well, what you got after this? Oh, that's all I had. Oh, well, you want to get off the book? No, I'm never leaving this book. Do you have more ideas? Not really.
Just look at his X-Men. I will keep writing it until you don't care anymore.
Oh, his Avengers to me. Man, I was a diehard Avengers fan growing up. And I remember I was at Comic-Con when they announced Avengers Assemble, the 3rd Bendis book, and literally no one applauded.
Aww.
They literally had to stop. And like the guy announcing it, he has hands out like this after making the announcement. And he literally had to go, come on, guys. And then people start applauding. You know how hard it is to not get people to applaud at Comic-Con for something? Like, at that point, it was like, I think that's the moment in which they realized, we have to get this guy off the Avengers. He's been here for a decade at this point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing. Hopefully he'll treat it more like Alias, in which there's a beginning, middle, and end. He's like, here's the story, whatever. Like, part of this is because there's such hype over the Netflix show, so I had a chance to get back into the street level. It's someplace I'm very comfortable. People have been digging my infamous Iron Man, so maybe this is like a chance for him to have a redemption and essentially a break from having to be, like so much in the like Marvel spotlight where it's just like, hey, Bendis, do this and this and this and this. He's like, all right, you know what? Like, it's clearly not working out if we do that. So why don't you just let me do something I like, and then I'll just tell a nice story, and we'll go from there. We'll see where we end up.
It's also too like, I love Defenders, but it's not a AAA flagship title, is what it is. It's a niche book, but it's a really good niche book.
Yeah,
Bendis is at his best when he's changing people, not worlds. Bendis at his best when you give him a book where you can do anything you want to this person's life, and it will in no way affect anyone else in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
Daredevil, perfect example. His
Exactly.
legendary run on that.
Especially because Bendis is notorious for not really paying attention to what's going on with other characters. So
Yeah.
The weird thing about that is that it feels always like someone runs up to Bendis after the book comes out and goes, "You couldn't actually do that because of this thing," and then he'll come in and do some quick explanation.
Yeah.
Like it feels like his editor is someone just staying over in the corner going, "You can't actually."
I dare you to stop me. Also, too, he's one of those writers that we know for a fact writes months and sometimes years in advance with work where it's like, well, I didn't change anything. I've had it done for like 6 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
Was he Ozymandias?
I think yes, I write years in advance.
He's a
Books
ball
I
of
Oh,
Ozymandias.
you didn't want me to kill the Hulk? I wrote it 5 issues ago.
Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. I like how Sori's involved. No, that's you because you're Canadian.
Someone in the chat just said that I love how Joel says sorry.
Yeah, that's like the most Canadian thing you say.
Oh, sorry.
Yay!
I try and choke down the A's, but you've caught me a couple times.
I have. I don't know. I'm like hardwired to hear that. So all right. So Defenders number 3. How you feeling about it?
It's good stuff. Like I said, I'm very much in love with this one right now. This is quickly climbing higher and higher on my pile every week where it's like, ooh, what am I going to read? Ooh, Defenders first, because I know I'm going to have a good time with that.
Awesome. Aaron?
I can't get the words out of my mouth because it feels so weird after like 8 years of saying, "Oh my God, Bendis, come on," to finally go, "Oh my God, this is it. This is that thing that I liked about this guy. Yes, it's here." So yeah, I'm still, seriously, I can't believe I'm saying it. I'm excited for this book.
That's awesome.
I really am looking forward to every issue of it.
That's
and
awesome.
the artwork, man, I know
Oh.
that, yeah. The shot where the Punisher has his gun slightly ajar by Daredevil's
Yeah.
stick coming in at the last second. Holy cow, that's one of the best like single panels I've seen this year.
Yeah.
Diamondback also going full Dragon Ball Z and then going full Bane at the same time.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, him stopping Iron Fist's punch was stunning to look at.
Yeah. I really actually just enjoyed the subtlety of Frank arriving and just seeing his skull shirt essentially come into light.
Yeah.
It's just subtle. Just the way to be able to handle everything, artist.
Can we talk too about Diamondback's henchmen too? Were all the good villainous uniforms taken? Where it's like, okay, you know what? Dress shirts, suspenders, and bow ties. That's what my crew's gonna wear now.
I wanted to bring that up because I was like, that has to be a reference to something. Not even from the comics. I'm sure that's like a reference to a band Bendis likes or something like that. It's got to be something out there.
Right? I don't know what that is. All I know is I assume Diamondback did it because he's just like, if you guys all look like nerds, I look super cool. So it's just association here, all right? That's just how it works, all right? I'm pretty sure when a person gets married, they put those women in those horrible dresses to make themselves look better. Same philosophy. Here we go. Put the suspenders on, you hipsters.
Also, Bendis, I gotta say real quick, Bendis started this issue off with a shout out to Patrice O'Neal.
Yes!
Patrice O'Neal was one of my favorite stand-up comedians. He was
Same.
super underrated. So, man,
Died way
way
too
to
young.
win me over real quick in this issue.
Immediately,
also,
everyone's
geez.
on the side of Diamondback.
It's also kind of like Diamondback. You've been dead for how long? And you're quoting Patrice O'Neal. Man, you caught up on a lot when you came back to life.
Or has he?
Mm.
So anyway,
Oh,
guys, all right.
snap.
Maybe
That was
Diamondback met Patrice O'Neal while he was dead.
Oh.
And that's how he knows.
I don't think that. Okay.
I don't think it's how it works either, but still.
Don't give Bendis ideas. He'll make that canon.
That's what happened, Joel. Thanks a lot. So, okay, guys, Defenders number 3. If you haven't been on the Defenders train, if you were worried about it because of Bendis, don't be. Go out, grab the other issues. You'll be able to get that free comic book day issue, but that's okay. They cover it all in issue 1. So, yeah, we're going to stick in the Marvel Universe, and we're going to very, very briefly talk about something that was an impulse buy for me. Edge of Venomverse number 2. Literally saw it in Comicsology. I was like, oh... all right. And then when I went into my books, as it turns out, I had purchased the first issue of this and never read it as well. So I had the same thought, and I was like, oh no, not this time. So I read them both. Leading
Tell us
up,
all about it.
right? Yeah, I was all about this. No, I really actually had a very good time with this. And I'm glad I read the first one because these are just little anthology books leading up to, of course, the big Venom event, even though Marvel's not doing events anymore. Never forget that. So, this of course focuses on Gwenpool having a symbiote, and it's what Gwenpool is, but with a symbiote. It's super cute. It's super funny. It's super referential. The symbiote ends up kind of being an awesome wingman for Gwenpool when she desperately desires to hit upon Matt Murdock. So I think it's adorable and fun and deadly all at the same time. It's everything that this should be, but really weird, I guess, in a way. If you read the first one, which focuses on X-23 as a child and is very gritty and a little more like hard-hitting. So if you're reading these, you don't have to read them all necessarily, unless, of course, you're desperately interested in what's going on with this Venom event, which is going to be written by Cullen Bunn, which I didn't realize, but I like him a lot because he does a really good job with humor and horror simultaneously. Mm-hmm. But if you just have an interest in a certain character, certainly you could just go and grab one of these. This ends, of course, on a cliffhanger, and I don't know when we'll get that answer, whether that'll be in the next anthology, but probably not, but more than likely it'll be when Venom event I don't know.
It's kind of the exact same like cliffhanger that the first one left off on, so I think it's like that's kind of like here's where they're all going. It's going to be this.
Exactly. So we'll get there.
Does she still break the? Because I wanted to read this one, but I just haven't gotten to it yet. Mm-hmm. But does she still break the fourth wall in this since it's an alternate reality? Like, does she still know she's in a comic book?
Yes. Oh, yeah. She does, and so does the symbiote. The symbiote is also... This is the only symbiote, apparently, who is aware of the fact that there are other universes and that, like, not to worry about killing anyone because the fact is none of them matter because they're from an alternate universe, so it's totally cool.
Wow. That's kind of awesome.
So you kind of have these two, like, very aware beings coming together into this one character. Again, it's just silly fun. It's silly, stupid fun. But it made me definitely a little more interested in what's going on with this whole Venom event. Especially because next issue, they're, of course, teasing that it's going to be Ghost Rider Venom.
It's Robbie Rodriguez, too, isn't it? Right?
Nice. Yeah, which I'm like, but how does this... How does the symbiote deal with that?
That's the thing. I think because it's like hellfire, it doesn't like have the same chemicals as regular fire.
Because it's magic, we can just say it works.
Yeah. We actually saw Venom and Ghost Rider come together one time before in like I think an Agent Venom story when they were doing like him and Red Hulk and X-23 and they all fused together into some weird monstrosity.
Something like that, yeah. Wow, I hadn't thought about that forever.
Yeah, that was a forgetful run, but I'm just like, this might be a little too silly even for me.
Wow. Even for you?
Even for me.
Mr.
I know.
Time Baby?
Look, if you could go back in time and kill the Time Baby, would you kill the Time Baby? It's an important moral question.
So anyway, I gotta tell you, I just had a good time with this. It's kind of fun, especially with everything that's going on, whether it be the whole Dark Days kind of heavy-hitting stuff or the Secret Empire heavy-hitting stuff. Every once in a while, it's fun to just have a book like this to pick up and be like, I'm having fun! And it doesn't matter what happens right now. Cool! Like, it's nice palate cleanser. So if you're a fan of Gwenpool, I'd recommend you pick this up. It's cute, and I think it really fits into what's been going on with Gwenpool overall. There you go. Yeah. That's it.
How's the humor of it? Because it's not the same person who writes the regular Gwenpool book. It's Michael Rosenberg, right?
I really enjoyed this, and for me, it comes down to the fact that giving her the symbiote gives her someone to talk to. So
okay.
And so she talks to the symbiote talks to her. Like it's like they're existing simultaneously, and they argue with each other, and like it pushes her to do certain things. Like when she is herself, when she is just Gwenpool, and she's working and such. Matt Murdock comes in and like she already thinks he's super cute and stuff like that, and so the symbiote helps her out by he's like, don't worry, I cloned some like Givenchy perfume so that you smell nice when he shows up. Like it turns out
cute.
Yeah, it's cute and like it desperately just wants to kill at the same time, so it's just like, no, it's fine, we're gonna get you laid, but also can we like eat some ninjas?
Please.
So I think they did a pretty good job of replicating the humor there, but also just being like, hey, just don't forget we're doing something with Venom. I know there's a lot going on, and we said we weren't doing events anymore, but and we're going to wrap it up pretty much September, October, but it's fun.
Who knows?
So there you go, guys. That was Edge of Venomverse number 2. Don't forget, these are each going to be an anthology set of books. I think in the back they have like a whole like the menu essentially of things that are coming out. So we're going to get another Edge of Venomverse this month, and then 2 in August with different characters. So if you're interested in that, go pick it up. But now we're going to travel on over to DC, talk about Flash number 26. Aaron, what's going on?
Yeah, tell us.
Basically, what goes on in this one is that at the end of the previous issue, you learn like the secret origin of the Reverse Flash of Eobard Thawne, and it was kind of weird because it revealed that like he was basically just a Flash fanboy, and he's like a crazy stalker of the the Flash. Like, he was one of these guys who's like, the Flash said, hey, man, good job. Here's some great advice. And then he travels back in time and sees him give that same advice to Wally West and goes, I wasn't special at all. You tell this to everyone, you hussy. And basically he, like, then goes and decides, well, I'm going to ruin your life. And the thing is, not to get too far into my own personal life, even though I'm not big, I've already run into kind of a stalkery kind of guy like that. So I was like, oh. You know what? Everybody else in my comic book store was like, I can't buy him being like that. I was like, I can. I've seen this.
Hits a little too close to home.
Yeah, so I was like, you know what? I never pictured the Reverse Flash like that. But at the same time, there's people out there like that. So, okay. So, yeah, it's kind of a weird thing about that. But now we have at the end of that issue, he then basically went up to Iris, ripped the Flash's mask off, said, it's Barry Allen. He's been lying to you this whole time. This one is almost like a couple like minutes after, because like you feel like there would have been that moment of shock, but instead like they're now all just kind of standing around talking about it, and Reverse Flash then like shows them their future where Barry Allen's kids, the Tornado Twins, are wrecking the city. Yeah, they're in this. Isn't that weird?
Damn.
They're wrecking the city because like they turn into villains because Barry Allen was never there. He was the absentee parent. And basically, it's kind of the Reverse Flash saying, this is how it is with everything in your life. You're never there for anyone because the Flash always comes first. You're never there for Iris. You're never there for Wally. You're never there for this or for your job or for any of this because you're always the Flash. So this is what's going to happen. I'm going to leave everyone in your life alone. I will never go back, mess with your history, anything like that. But I'm going to trap you in the Reverse Speed Force forever. You're going to be there forever. And Barry's like, all right, I trust you. I'll do this. And I was digging this issue up until that moment because I was like, why on earth are you going to trust this guy? Why on earth do you think he is going to actually, like, follow through with what he says? But he goes in there, gets trapped in the Reverse Speed Force, and then he sees, like, his entire life playing out of him, like, every loss he's ever had, every person he ever disappointed, everybody ever telling him, oh, you weren't there for me when I needed you, because he had to go up and be the Flash. And then as soon as Eobard gets out of there, he's like, yeah, I was totally lying about that. I'm going to go and kill Iris right now. And it's Iris trapped in the Flash Museum with Reverse Flash. And then at the end of the issue, regular Flash shows up, but now he's a big mutated monster because of the Reverse Speed Force. It's kind of weird.
That's how it works.
Yeah, I've been digging pretty much everything about, oh God, I'm going to forget his name. Williamson?
Yeah,
that's it?
Williamson.
Right. Yeah. I've been digging everything about his run on Flash. Like, it shocked me because that dude was known for writing horror stuff over at Image.
Nailbiter was my jam, yeah.
Nailbiter and Birthright. Holy nuts. Both those books. Like, shockingly good, but shockingly graphic and horrific. Mm-hmm. So when you say, hey, this is the guy who's the Blue Lantern of the Justice League, it's like, I'm not picturing you for that at all.
Right.
But he's been knocking it out of the park, in my opinion, especially, like, him being a cop. Like, when you see the Flash being a cop and a CSI agent in there, it's like, oh, yeah, this is the guy who wrote Nailbiter. Makes total sense. But I think he's really been capturing, like, everything that makes Barry Allen who he is. Been doing a great stuff with Wally West in there. This issue's kind of my most disappointing one so far. I didn't dislike it. Not at all. I really dug all that stuff in the beginning with the Tornado Twins and, like, basically Reverse Flash kind of, like, having to say, you let down everyone, and him kind of, like, looking at his own future going, oh, yeah, I kind of did. This is kind of what leads me. It's like, I thought that was actually, like, a great place to take this storyline. But then him trapping him in the Reverse Speed Force, when we all, like, I think it was just like, man, I was yelling at the book. Like, you know he's not going to live up to his promise. And, like, I love that it wasn't even like, all right, I guess I'll obey this for a little bit. No, I must go out there and fight them. It's like, no, he was instantly just like, yeah, screw you, Flash. I'm the Reverse Flash. I lie about everything.
How many times have I tried to kill you?
Yeah, seriously. How many times have I done this exact plot, too? So, yeah, it was kind of like, it really just kind of left me a little bit sour. And also the fact that it's like, so Barry's just a big monster man now. It's like, I know that this will lead into him like having to find the true Barry Allen inside. And he'll come through and cleanse himself of that energy. But it's like, I didn't think reverse Speed Force energy would do that. Sure, why not? Okay.
We're changing the rules.
Right.
Sure. So
now,
yeah, it was just a weird spot to end on.
Well,
Yeah,
you're gonna come back though, right? You gotta see what.
Oh,
like,
it's not a bad issue in any way.
But-
it's just kind of like a,
yeah.
well, this was where that was going. Cool.
So you're like,
But it's also, it's been a great series. I'd give this issue a C, but you know, when a C is the worst issue of your like 26 issue long run, that's a great run.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Can't all be home runs.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And now to make Flash fans really mad at me. So how will him running as fast as he can help him not be a monster man anymore?
It'll burn off all the excess negative Speed
And
Force
while
energy.
you think about
Oh, you
that,
know,
oh, hang on.
you know that's what's going to happen.
I know. He's just and then he ran so fast that the monster parts couldn't keep up with him. But before we discuss that further, I'm gonna butcher this, and I apologize ahead of time. Honestly, Muad Chali, thank you so much for the super chat. They asked, on a related note, can Flash run back in time and undo the events of the Suicide Squad and BVS and MOS? Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, we can dream.
Technically, the Flash can do any of those things if the movie makers decide that he can do any of those things.
Man, in a weird way, I'm kind of upset that Wonder Woman was so good, because it was like, man, if that one was bad too, the end of Justice League could be that Flash going back in time and erasing all this. But because we now have one really good movie in this universe.
Yeah.
But hang on, but that movie takes place in the past.
Yeah, he goes back to literally 5 seconds after they take that photograph there, and they're looking up at
and
Steve
then he's
there
just
at
like,
the end.
okay, we're starting from here.
I just see Barry. Time for a mulligan.
Yeah, exactly. So would you recommend?
Why do I look like Grant Gustin now?
Yeah.
Would you recommend Flash for if they haven't been reading it, or if
I
they
would
kind of fell off?
recommend this entire run, but don't start on this one issue. This is a weird issue to start on. Like, even issue 25 would be a better issue to start with. Issue 25 would be pretty darn good. Issue 26 makes no sense to you if you did not read issue 25. And also, like, you're not going to get all the stuff between Barry and Iris, because this has been building for 25 issues coming up. And it was really cool seeing them kind of have that talk there. But it's not, it's not the one to start with. But if you've already been reading it, this is not going to turn you away. Yeah, this is going to be like, it's just, whenever you have a storyline, there's always going to be that one issue where it's like, well, this is where you have to go from point B to C. Yeah. This is not like the big event one. This is just where we get from one thing to the next. Next issue is the next thing. So cool.
Awesome. All right, there you go, guys. Now we're going to take a little detour out of the DC universe for a little bit, and we're going to get over to Marvel for a book that everyone has been asking us to talk about, Spider-Man 2, number 1. I had to really parse that one in my head before I opened my mouth up.
It's a really awkward title, isn't it?
It is, because first of all, I'm used to saying Spider-Man. Second of all, putting the 2 there and then having the number 1. It's a disaster for me. But Joel, how about you talk for a little bit? What's going on?
Hey, Bendis, welcome back. Hasn't been a while, has it? Also, hey, big ups to the chat. Circle of 4 was the story I was thinking of. Yes. Thank you, chat, for correcting me on that. They're on their A game.
They sure are.
So yeah, so this is the long-awaited 5 years in the making sequel to the original Spider-Man storyline from Bendis, which actually holds a bit of a special place in my heart because it was one of the first big comic events I actually covered when I started working with comics online back when I worked with the other outfit. And it's funny. I'm like, oh my God, that was 5 years ago. I've been on comic YouTube for 5 years. Man.
It's by fast because we're all having fun.
Yeah, where does the time go on this one? And of course, the big stinger at the end of that original Spider-Man story, for those of you who didn't read it, was who is the 616 Miles? And after reading that story, I really cared. And I really wanted to know. But then lots of shit happened in between that in the 5-year span. The Ultimate Universe was destroyed. Miles and a handful of other Ultimate characters got to cross the threshold and be characters anyway. And then I genuinely kind of stopped caring because the only reason I really wanted to know who the 616 Miles was because I could hold out hope that, like, ooh, maybe there can be a Miles in the main universe anyway. Maybe we can have our cake and eat it too. But now here's this story anyway. It's even funnier. What Culture? I'm a big fan of those guys. They have a comic book channel now, and they had a video not too long ago that was like the top 10 comic book storylines that will never be resolved, and this was one of them. And I'm like, that video's wrong now.
Oops.
Yeah. Honestly, this was kind of an uneventful issue in many ways. We get to see Miles hanging out in a regular day in his life. I hate to say I've dropped off the Miles book since Civil War II. Those tie-ins were really rough to get through. And then it jumped into a big tie-in with Spider-Gwen, which I wasn't reading, and I didn't want to pick up the extra book. And I'm like, well, I'll wait till this is done, and then I'll hop back in, and then I just never hop back in. So it was nice, actually, to get back into Miles. And I'm like, yes, this is like getting into a warm bath. I remember these characters. This was fun. Then we cross over to Spider-Man beating up the armadillo, which is really a hallmark of Bendis' works here. Heroes working over the armadillo.
Bendis I assume he had a traumatic event with an armadillo just in life. One day he'll tell us about that.
Did the armadillo key his car or sleep with his wife or something? Because he just takes every opportunity to mess with that guy. And then out of nowhere, we see a portal in the sky, a purple portal that looks exactly like the rift that opened up between 616 and Ultimate from the original story. In fact, as we find out, it's emanating from the exact same warehouse that Mysterio was working out of all the way back then. And yeah, another portal has opened up seemingly to the Ultimate Universe, which we thought was destroyed. But maybe it's not.
Don't go through it. It's not going to end well for you.
Also, Ultimate Taskmaster comes out to fight them, but he looks nothing like the Ultimate Taskmaster that Bendis created. He looks completely different.
And also, it's Peter who says, I'd like to introduce you to the Taskmaster. It wasn't Miles who said it.
Right.
So it's like, so is this Ultimate Taskmaster? Because it doesn't look like 616 Taskmaster either.
See, now here's where the issues with Bendis come in then, because it's just like, that could be totally done on purpose, or that could be Bendis forgot.
Yeah.
So it's like, you won't know until you get more information. There's no way you can hypothesize on this thing, because how many times is he just, whoops.
Yeah, also, Bendis has dropped so many of his own plot lines.
Yep.
If you forget something going on in another book, hey, you're human. You forget your own freaking storyline.
Yeah, that's...
Brother Voodoo is the one I always look back on.
Oh, the one that always gets me is when the Hood. When the Hood had to go and gather up the Infinity Stones 2 weeks after he went to jail for the first time, finally. But when he's gathering up the Infinity Stones, he goes and gets Black Bolt's Infinity Stone, and it's a different Infinity Stone than the one that Bendis gave him.
He's like,
all right, fine.
Oops.
This also runs into a bit of discontinuity, too, where it's like, Peter remembers the events of the original Spider-Man, remembers going to another universe, and remembers that Miles isn't from this universe.
Right.
Despite the fact that they don't really make a big deal about that in any other books, nor do I think Miles has brought that up. Some people in the comment section says that they have brought that up before, but I can't remember reading it.
Yeah.
No, Miles also... Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Miles also in this issue says that he remembers that as well. Yeah. And in the first issue of the Spider-Man series, where Miles is officially in 616, he counts his new origin story meeting Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I have no big finale to that. It's just frustrating.
It's very weird. And again, Bendis wrote that book.
Yeah, that's where it gets like kind of it becomes difficult, because it's like, is there subtext, or are you like, do you not know what you're doing? And like, I prefer it to be subtext. I prefer it if he was like, no, see, I'm doing something here, guys. Hang on. Like, we're gonna get someplace, and when we get there, it's gonna be awesome. Instead of like, I wrote this thing, someone told me I was wrong, and like you said earlier, now I'm gonna just create a reason why it works. Like, just like that's when it comes down to, where is the editors, where are like anyone who's supposed to be going through these things to make sure that it all works out, you know, at the end, to like let him create the story he wants to create without having to go back and fix it, you know, like. But at the same time, it was kind of fun to have like super fun like Spider-Man dialogue, like Spider-Man hanging out, having a nice time, not dealing with corporations, you know what I mean? Just like, hey, let's punch things and talk and be quippy at each other.
He definitely has a passion for both Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. It's actually nice to hear Bendis write Peter, because it's been a while.
Yeah, and one of my biggest problems with what's been going on at Marvel over the past couple of years is that when Miles came into this universe, it was like, dude, we're going to get adventures with Peter and Miles. Pete's going to be training Miles. Like, you remember the last issue of Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Which is like Pete going, all right, what'd you tell your mom? All right, you ready to go out? Cool, let's go and solve some cases. Let's go and fight crime.
That was the promise.
Man, these two going out there, Pete training his young protege, him growing up, becoming the next Spider-Man, this is going to be amazing. They have not interacted at all since any of this. One like crossover in the Amazing Spider-Man book where Pete was just a jerk the whole time, and Miles was like, "I don't want to hang out with you anymore." And then
Miles
Civil
has
War
had a
2,
better relationship with Iron Man.
Yeah, and then Civil War 2, in which he was just like, "Wow, I really don't want anything to do with Pete now." They have had no interactions, so I was enjoying this issue, even though the first like 75% of it was just Miles wanting to pick up a girl at school. It's like, this is just a regular Miles Morales book. All right, fine. But it was like, all right, the two of them hanging out, doing things. Sorry, I'm clapping into the mic. But hanging out and doing stuff, that's awesome. That's what I want to see. And then it was that moment in which he goes, oh, yeah, remember how you're from an alternate universe and your universe merged together and we're the only two people that remember it? Yep. I went, record scratch. What now?
Yeah. And
I'm sorry.
That speech bubble was written pretty much the way that you described it. It was huge and just filled with stuff. Like, almost as like Bendis was like, get over it, all right? Like, I know no one's really addressed it the way that they should have, but yeah, moving on.
But also it was kind of like, yeah, no one has addressed it because we all didn't think that was a thing.
Exactly.
None of us were sitting here going, oh my goodness, do they remember this? Do they not? No, we all knew the answer. He doesn't remember this. They merged together. End of story. We've read DC Comics for 2 decades now. We know how this works. You don't have to explain it to us. And then he stopped and told us, no, that's not how it works. He knows this. Yeah. So Miles now, the thing that I love about Miles is he's just a regular kid. Yeah. He's just your average Joe. He's not that now. Now he's the guy who is constantly walking around going, well, this is not my beautiful home. This is, how did I get here?
Beautiful wife.
Yeah, it's like now he's... The average Joe does not walk around at all times realizing they're in an alternate universe and used to live in a different universe and that universe collapsed. It's like, you really... I know I'm freaking out about this more than I should be, but it took so much away from what I like about Miles Morales. It really did kind of go, so you might as well just be living in space with the Guardians of the Galaxy right now, because you are not the kid who I liked as Spider-Man right now.
They made him an alien in just a couple lines of dialogue.
That's what it is.
Now an alien.
You're not the kid from Brooklyn. You're the kid from an alternate universe now.
That's okay. He can hang out with the Maker and they can both talk this over. Hey, remember that other Earth we were from?
Yeah, I don't see that conversation going well, Joel. I don't see that going the way that Miles wants that to go.
Well, hey, assumedly if he remembers everything. Hey, remember when you tried to take over my world that one time?
Because I do, Punch. So, alright, so Spider-Man 2, #1. Overall, what do you think of this, guys? Where do you think this is going? Is this going to be something that actually serves to further these characters? Is it just something as a cash grab? What do you guys think?
It is slightly annoying in many ways, but I guess I'll keep up with it if only just to finally have the question asked, like, okay, who is this other Miles? Better be good.
Yeah, and where this ends was kind of like, oh,
yeah,
I have no real interest in who this Miles is just from this one thing, but it's like, yeah, if you really wanted to address this, like, you keep seeing that weird mystery image there on the cover of, like, someone walking through. I was like, oh, I think I know where this is going. I bet it's going to be they go back to the Ultimate Universe, and then Pete has to tell this Miles, oh, yeah, you're not the first Miles I knew. I knew this Miles from this other universe. Hey, other Miles, you still exist, and you're still safe and fine. Anyway, this is 616 Miles, the one I've been having adventures with. We're going to go have fun over here. No, that ain't what this is. It's some big, weird, crazy thing, and I don't know.
Do you think they would use this to backdoor the Ultimate Universe into existence? Because there was a page we saw from Ultimates number 100 that seeks to imply that, yeah, maybe actually some of these guys are still around.
I don't know. It's so frustrating because it's like, dude, I love the Ultimate Universe, but it's over.
It's
done, Johnny. Its fight's over.
Yeah.
Throw the towel in.
It ran its course.
The one thing we wanted to save was Miles. We saved Miles, and
it's like mission accomplished. Let it go.
Is there anybody who wants? Like, I work in a comic book store. any opinion that exists on comics, I've heard someone shouting it in my store. I've heard no love for the Ultimate Universe. I have not heard anybody going, you know what I want? Jerk Captain America. I want him back. I want weird hippie Norwegian. Yeah. I want weird hippie Norwegian Hulk. Not Hulk. Thor. I want him back around. Now this current Thor. It's like, no. The only people liked was Miles.
Yeah.
Miles is here. We're good.
And again,
oh my God. I just realized it's going to be Ultimate Shadowcat. He's going to use this to get Ultimate Shadowcat back into our universe. I guarantee you.
That could easily happen. So, all right, guys. Spider-Man number 1. If you were interested in that whole who is like the Miles Morales of 616, then you got to pick this up. You're going to have to see what Bendis is doing this. We're all going to have to go on this journey together to see where Bendis takes us. And if this...
It's happening, whether you like it or not.
Exactly. We're going to be still picking this up. And don't forget, we still like Defenders. So there you go. So now we're going to take a brief break from the big two, and I'm just gonna really quickly, usually I put this at the end of the show, but I decided to mix it up today. Guys, if you're looking for a horror book written by Cullen Bunn, and you thought to yourself, where could I find that? Because I already read Harrow County, and I'm up to date on that, but I want something new and grittier and more disturbing. Well, then you gotta pick up Regression. Regression number 3 came out this week. I like this book a lot. It's scary and creepy and disturbing, and the art's done in this really amazing way in which it's like, here are real people done in a super illustrative fashion, but so done anatomically correct so that everything is really uncomfortable when you see it, and there's lots of bugs. Which, by the way, for me, anything that happens in a swarm, I'm not cool with. Anytime
Nothing
there's a
good
swarm
happens
of
in a
anything.
swarm.
Maybe kittens, I'd be alright with it, but even still, I'd be like, that is a lot of kittens. That is a lot of kittens.
I can't love you all.
Yeah, my heart will explode from trying to love you too much. So this book, of course, focuses around a gentleman who has these, like, incredible, like, very lucid, very I'm awake and I'm having dreams and they're terrible looking, and like I see a person and then I look again and there's like things flying out of his face and his eyes and his mouth and all that stuff. And it is of course linked to past lives from which he has gone to a hypnotist to find out more about that. He does one session with him, which of course makes everything worse, because anytime you're in a horror movie and someone recommends you go to see someone and then you call them a creep and a freak and you leave, you have made it worse. You've made it worse. All right, everybody? I'm just telling you that right now. So he goes home. I'm just kind of recapping everything right now because I don't want to give too much away about this. But he goes home, and of course we find that the hypnotist is murdered by seemingly one of his past lives. What?
Oops.
Was it him? Was it the past life? What's going on? Well, in this issue, we found out there is some crazy witch woman. I don't know if she's actually a witch, but I'm calling her that. And she ends up a lot in the dreams. She keeps showing up. She obviously has a connection to the past life who presumably killed the hypnotist. And that there is a lot more going on inside of him. Now, this, of course, seemingly to me is like very much like, this is supernatural, this is horror, we've got the cops involved now. Now, by the way, yeah, there's cops involved now, so you know one of them's going down because cops. Because one of them's going to be like, don't worry, I'll go check out XYZ, oh, I'm dead.
I'll go alone.
Yeah,
don't
exactly, because I live in a world of science and like, you know, sanity.
Reason and logic.
But not anymore. They do potentially hint at there being some sort of creepy stalker romantic interest between this woman and him and the past lives, but it's not 100%. But
because it's not uncomfortable enough.
Oh yeah, no, exactly, and it just only gets further and further creepier and upsetting. And of course now he is a suspect in a sense in the murder of the hypnotist, so he's got that going on in his real life, and he can't even get a moment's peace because every time he looks anywhere, it's just bugs and creepy ladies who have bugs crawling out of them. It's just a lot of bugs, all right? If you don't like bugs, this is not the book for you. And of course he's
not for me.
And of course he's trying to manage a relationship with another young lady who seemingly has interest in him, which means that she is not long for this world, I'm certain. But overall, it's Cullen Bunn doing what I think Cullen Bunn does best, which is horror. I've always liked his horror. Not that, of course, his stuff, writing Deadpool and such, isn't great, but the fact is, horror and humor both elicit, like, honest emotions from you, so it's not surprising to me that he can write both very well. But this is the kind of book for me, so yeah. Scary tough. But that's it.
Nice.
There you go.
I read the first issue of that, and you're right. The bugs are super graphic in that. Like, I dig horror, and I think Cullen Bunn, I'm typically kind of hot and cold on Cullen Bunn, but when it comes to his horror stuff, that's what he does great.
Yeah.
And yeah, the horror stuff in here is good, but man, it was tough getting through all those bugs. That's one of those things that's like, it's not even that they scare me, they just gross me out. And these are really graphic bugs. But
do not watch do not read on a full stomach.
Yeah. And the weird thing is about Cullen Bunn is that he's always kind of had like a horror side project going. He got bit, I hate to use this pun, but he got bit by the bug recently, and like he has got that like writing like itch. He's like, I have to write a ton of stuff because he's got 4 horror books coming out within the span of a month. Like he's got that. He's got Occupancy, I believe it's called, which is over at Boom.
Yeah.
About a woman working at a mental hospital that recently opened up, and there's a gate to hell inside. Yeah. That one's pretty darn good. He just started at Aftershock. He started Unholy Grail, which is kind of, I'm a little bit, I'm seeing where that one's going. But then like next month, he's got Demon Arc or whatever it is. Basically, it's the person who saved all the demons when God flooded the earth, like the anti-Noah. So it's like, he's just cranking out a ton, and they've all been really good.
Yeah, I'm wondering if potentially, like, after he did Harrow County and with this, that he had all these scripts laying around that he'd been writing over time, and they're like, "This is you're doing well here with this. You got any other stories?" He's like, "Actually,
even
I could polish up there for you and give on over." But yeah, like I like to see a lot of horror stuff, and like it'll ebb and flow in comics. I've noticed. Same thing with movies though. Like you'll just get a sudden influx of horror, and then you won't see it for a while. So I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Did either of you read The Sixth Gun? Even that had a paranormal bent to it, and that's one of his oldest ones.
It did. You're absolutely right about that. So he can't help himself. He likes that.
It's always been there in his work.
Right, exactly. All right, so let's get out of the indie corner and move back over into Marvel and talk about Hulk number 8. Aaron, what's going on with Hulk? We haven't had her on here in a while. It's funny how to be able to say that now.
Yeah. Basically, what's going on in this issue is that it's weird. After the first storyline, like Jennifer was kind of like, I don't like being the Hulk. I don't want to be a part of this. Which I actually really enjoy that because it really is kind of like, it's a metaphor for something. The way that they write, I'm not going to go into details, but it's definitely like the way they treat it. It's definitely a metaphor for a thing.
You can read a lot into what she's going through.
Yeah. So in this one, in the last issue, they had kind of said that one of the things that helps calm her down is there's this cooking show online that she likes to watch. And I'm actually able to relate to that because my wife loves cooking shows. So it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I get. So she is watching these cooking shows, and there's this one guy who's like, this is his chance at the big time. He's got like 500,000 subscribers, and he's gonna record a show tonight and try and sell it to an actual network. And then one of his like D-bag cameramen,
who looks like Guy Fieri.
I thought the same thing. Okay, it's not just me. All right,
not just you.
Okay, but yeah, he basically says, all right, you know what? We got our own side project. We're working on this thing, reality horror. We're going to come in here to where people are filming live and just mess everything up. And they put this drug in his cake, and it forces him to basically like Hulk out himself. Like he turned into this big blobby ogre thing in the middle of it and starts wrecking things. And so this whole issue is Jen having to like research, find out who could have done this. She doesn't really do any Hulk time in here until like the very end. But that's been the thing about this Hulk series. It's like she keeps the Hulk in check. Like she only brings her out at specific times. And so basically this whole issue is her researching. It's her tracking down leads, trying to figure out who's to blame for this thing. It's a little bit odd because at the very end of this, she goes, all right, time to turn into the Hulk. And she like jumps off of a building and turns into the Hulk there at the end. And I was kind of like, I don't really know who she's going off to beat up right now. Like, because it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, this guy who's been turned into the big ogre thing, like he still kind of has his consciousness and he's out looking for revenge, trying to find the people who did this to him. So it's like, okay, well, he has to be stopped, but he's still like, you can still kind of like reason with him at this point. You still kind of talk to him, try and get him some help, try and take him to like a lab somewhere. And the guys who did this to him, like they're kind of taken care of at one point in this story. Like you don't really need to like worry about them anymore. So it's one of those things where at the end of this, when she turns into the Hulk, I was like, I get you have to turn into the Hulk, what are you going to do right now? Like, I don't know where you're going that requires you to be the Hulk right now. So, yeah, it was kind of a weird spot to end on, but I get that they needed her to become the Hulk because I love the first storyline of this. The first trade of it just came out today.
I liked it too, actually. Me and Sal were quite into it, although he didn't quite like the ending as much as I did.
The ending I had problems with, but only because it was 5 issues of her fighting becoming the Hulk. And if it had been like 3 issues, I would have been way fine with the ending. But when you get up to like 5 issues of her trying to hold it back, there's nothing that can really happen in that last issue that will be as cool as 5 issues of build-up has been.
Right.
Yeah.
So I kind of get why she had to turn to the Hulk at the end of this issue. I think the editors came in when this is the one problem everyone has with this. You wait too long for her to become the Hulk. It's like, okay, I get it. All
Which
right,
I can appreciate a slow burn, especially for a Hulk book where it's like, wow, this is a Hulk book that's subtle, restrained, understated, words you never usually use to describe a Hulk book.
It's also had, like, that first storyline really had also a horror vibe to it. Like, because when the Hulk, not like Amadeus Cho Hulk, but like Bruce Banner Hulk, when he was going to turn to the Hulk, it should be terrifying. When he's trying to fight that and hold in, it should be horrifying. So when they just named this series Hulk, and then I read that, I was like, I get it. I get why this is just Hulk. It's trying to capture that vibe. And I think that they nailed that. Whenever she was about to turn to the Hulk, it was legit terrifying. You didn't want to see it happen. In the 2 issues since that storyline happened, you've seen her turn to the Hulk twice. Once to just kind of go and punch stuff in a like garbage dump. And then another time, and then in this one, she turned into it at the end. It's not really scary anymore. And she doesn't really have to like fight it anymore. Like there's not that suspense anymore. Like, never do I look at this and it's like, oh, man, what if she turned into the Hulk right now? That'd be horrifying. Instead, it's like, she seems to have everything under control right now.
The cat is literally out of the bag. You know what comic actually handled that really well? Daredevil from last week, because She-Hulk showed up in that. They were hanging out at the lawyer bar talking about what Matt Murdock is doing. Tombstone comes in to try and kill Matt Murdock. She-Hulks out, and Daredevil has to try and get her under control because it's like, oh, wow, she's actually more dangerous than Tombstone because she's hulked out.
Yeah, so I'm enjoying all the interactions between her and her assistants. I think that's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying seeing her actually having to kind of be a detective and actually have to like track down leads. Like she can't just go around like smashing stuff as the Hulk and that resolves everything. It's like, no, she actually has to use her brain and she's a very smart person. So awesome. But man, I love the suspense of the first storyline. I love the horror element of the first storyline. Yep. Last 2 issues have not had that. So it's a little bit disappointing. So as far as like whether or not to check it out, it's one of those things where I want to get more people into this book, but Marvel has done a thing where with their digital codes to try and apologize for that scam they pulled where they just took them out, they've now given you the first issue of a trade that comes out that week in every single digital issue. The one for this, like you get the actual comic that you buy as a digital issue, but they also include the first issue of one of the trades that came out that week. So you get 2 books in every single book you buy. Yeah, it's as far as apologies go, that's a pretty good apology. That's nice. But the one that you can get in all your Marvel books this week is the first issue of that Hulk series. That first issue was great. So I'm not going to recommend people check out this issue. I'm going to recommend you buy literally any Marvel book out there, get the digital code, and then read the very first issue of Hulk
for free.
Because that was great. And if you like that, that will get you into this series.
I think the saddest thing about this Hulk thing, because I was a big torch carrier for it when it started, is the fact that we know because of Legacy solicitations that this status quo is not long for this world, that she's going to go back to being green and she's going to go back to being called She-Hulk anyway.
All right, we're not going to get into that, though. I'm not letting us do that.
Well, she goes back to being called She-Hulk, but I think she's still gray, isn't she?
No, she's green on the cover.
All right, so we talked about Hulk Net Raid. I think that's a really great advice, though. So if you go to your local comic book store, you pick up an actual issue. You get your code in there. If you're going through digital, though, just go buy it there. Just go to the thing and push the button. It's that easy. Then you just go check out the first issue and just go on from there and enjoy the story that is the Hulk. Now, look, guys, I know Joel hasn't talked in a while, but there's a really good reason for that. It's because I'm kidding. It's because he's Black Bolt. But no, I'm gonna actually cover Action Comics. But don't worry, Joel is coming up again, and you'll see why. So Action Comics number 938 came out this week. Still talking about the Superman Revenge Squad. Hey guys, remember like 2 weeks ago when we were doing the show and we were talking about number 982, and I was all like, hey, you know what's gonna be awesome next issue, when we have a super cool, super amazing fight between Superman's team and, you know, the Superman Revenge Squad, and it's gonna be awesome, and we're gonna see all these cool things. Yeah, as it turns out, instead what happens is they show up, they're totally not put together, and they have no leadership, and Zod, using the telepathy of Blanc, just wipes the floor with everybody.
Yep.
So that was fun.
Can we talk about Zod's facial hair here too?
Yeah!
Why did it get
Oh my
so
gosh.
elaborate in between issues? It didn't look like that before.
Because the amazing Victor Bogdanovic is drawing this book. And Victor Bogdanovic is an awesome guy. I can tell you that 100%. He's awesome. And I think that he's a great artist. And I'm a little jaded because he drew Sal's book, Garth Kirby and the Cookbook of the Gods, and then ended up working for DC.
Oh, well, I'll be.
So, hey, if you want to get discovered, just draw a book for Sal. Then you'll get picked up. That's happened on several times. But, yeah, that's why, because the artist is different, and I know for a fact this guy is much more detail-oriented. He tends to draw people looking very different from one another as opposed to having the same face. So, like, it's just attention to detail there. I like Zod's facial hair. I think that more guys should have facial hair like this. I'm pretty sure, based on what you got right now, we can make this happen for you.
Yeah, we just put our initials inside these things. Yeah.
I think
Because he's just got the giant Z going down there. I'll figure out a way to put a Thorgy like written across the side, and then Aaron.
We'll workshop it.
I'll put love and hate on both sides of my face.
Nice.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect. I love it. And Joel, well, we'll make it work.
I gotta actually grow stuff on these sides.
There you go. But no, seriously, this issue, I really expected the big fight, and we sure did get a fight, but it just didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. We're stretching this out a little bit longer because now everybody except seemingly Supergirl is in the Phantom Zone. Including Eradicator and Cyborg Superman, who apparently didn't see that coming.
Wow.
Literally, he puts Mongol and Zod on his team, and he's just like, how could you betray me?
Damn your inevitable betrayal.
I thought we were, like, evil, like, Superman-hating bros, man. Man, what happened? No?
Yeah, out of everybody's rogues gallery, Superman probably has the most loner villains of anybody.
Right?
The most I don't play well with anyone out there.
Exactly, but seriously, like that, like where he's just like, really, you're gonna just do that? It's like, come on. If you thought about this for more than 15 minutes, you would have been like, there's no way Zod's not putting me in the Phantom Zone. Like, that's gonna happen. Especially when he immediately takes control of the situation. He immediately starts delegating what's going to happen. He immediately puts himself in the role in which he can completely control everything that's happening and get rid of Cyborg Superman simultaneously. I'm sorry. There's just no way at that point you think that this is gonna turn out the way you want, that you're gonna get to be the one that kills Superman.
Yeah, when I was reading the previous issues and he assembles his team and he's got himself there and he's got power over all of them and they're like, you must all kneel before me, like Cyborg Superman I'm talking about. And they're like, we have one more member of the team we need. I was like, no, you don't.
Yeah. No,
this would get the job done right here.
You're good. Look, you're risking it with Mongol here, man. That's not good either. I don't know if you know this. He's not a big team player. Okay? Everyone else is kind of like, all right, whatever. Like, I want small things. I want power and I want, like, you know, to live forever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's fine. You can provide that. But these two, they got bigger ideas here. And let's, of course, not forget the fact that seemingly Clark's entire family is gone.
Yeah.
They're probably not.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm spoiling anything by saying that. They're probably not.
Can I say Blanche made me laugh in this issue pretty hard? Was like, don't hit me, Chinese Superman. I'm only human. That'll kill me. I'm like, are you really? You don't look human.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, no. That was good, though. And I felt bad because like, Kong was like, yeah, no, all right, fine. Like, right, you guys don't know anything about these other individuals. And, like, I know I made fun of the Superman Revenge Squad for not doing their research. I don't even know how much research they had going into this, but all it took was somebody just going like, okay, let's figure this out. So I'm hoping now, what we'll see is now that they're in the Phantom Zone, Henshaw will help them at some point. Because if so, he's got to give up the Ghost, man.
Oh, yeah.
Eradicator's going there to collect Zod's army. Henshaw's got to give up the Ghost at this point and recognize that nothing is going his way, and this is not going to help him even remotely. And so he better help Superman and the rest of them. I'm hoping that, of course, Kara is still floating around out there, because we didn't see her get hit by the Phantom Zone ray. We also didn't see her in that final, like, reveal where they're all, like, floating in the Phantom Zone. So I assume she's going to go and deal with whatever's going on with Lois and John. Great, awesome. But I'm hoping when they all get back together that they will have an actual plan and they'll just take down what's left of the Superman Revenge Squad. Like, just take them down.
I hope we get some Phantom Zone cameos too. I'm always a fan of those, where it's like, hey, it's the Phantom King, hey, it's Feora and Non, and all these other characters who just seem to live there.
That'll be really honestly interesting. Also, I love the fact that the cover like makes you think that somehow Crypto is going with them, and I'm like, this,
yeah,
where the hell is Crypto? Like,
yeah, I didn't read this issue, but in my store, I looked at the cover and went, oh man, that looks awesome. I'm just going to take a quick peek inside. And I saw what you described where it was like, no, they just get their asses handed to them real quick. I was like, oh, you know what? This doesn't quite look as that because I was thinking it's going to be.
No, they build this whole thing up. They show up in the last issue. They do the pose for the photo that nobody's taking for them, and then they get their butts kicked.
I was a big fan too of Zod showing his new power of yelling really loud to mess with blind Superman. Oh, so you're listening to me, huh? To find my position. Well,
I think a lot of people have that power. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I kind of am interested to see how they're going to pull themselves back from this, how they're going to resolve this whole thing. Again, I still say that even though that this has not gone the way I thought I was going to go, that this book is just a fun Superman story. It is a very kind of classic, like, hey, it's good against evil, and of course we had the inevitable betrayal, and now we'll see where it ends up going. But it really is hitting all the Superman marks. We got Zod, we got the Phantom Zone, we got, of course, the entire grouping of villains. We got people who can't work together, and then they have to come together, hopefully under the banner of Superman.
What's your over-under that they might use the Kryptonian battle armor in the next issue to maybe help out John? Because they keep Chekhov's gunning it. They're like, hey, it's there in the back.
Right?
Look at this Kryptonian armor that's in the back, guys.
Here is what I assume potentially happened, is that they got in it, and Zod can't read them in there.
Ooh. I like that a lot.
I don't know.
You have a long history of being correct about these things, Tiffany. So if this is right, we all owe you a Coke next week.
Yay! So there you go, guys. Again, if you haven't been reading Action Comics, this is not the place to jump on, but you can go back and pick up the rest of this arc. It's a lot of fun. It's funny because it's like, for me, like going through on this journey where I'm like, these Superman Revenge Squad guys suck, and now I'm like, oh no, never mind. Apparently they totally rule. And of course the art in this issue is super great and amazing. But now, the reason why Joel hasn't been covering the last few books is because Joel is going to have the immense task. I did these back to back on purpose, guys, because Action Comics this week is a rock solid story. Here's a bunch of guys punching each other, and the superheroes get their butts kicked and they end up in the Phantom Zone. Now let's talk about an info dump and super dense story. Dark Days, the casting.
I'm glad you're doing this.
Joel?
Okay, Jesus Christ, here I feel like I need to take something to give me the energy I need to get through this. So, like, Dark Days the Forge had a lot going on in it, a lot of cameos, a lot of callbacks to old continuity. It jumped around a bunch. The Forge has nothing on the casting, is the thing. It is a whole other level of lore dumps and continuity shoutouts and characters you haven't seen in forever. I think I described it in my own video as a continuity buffet. So much to the point that once I had read it and once I had all that I could eat, I'm like, oh, I need to sit down for a minute. I need to digest this. So, at the forefront continues to be the secret retelling of the origin of Hawkman, who is in a bit of discontinuity, but Snyder is smart enough to throw in a line where it's like, hey, every story you've ever heard about me was told by an unreliable narrator. This is the real story.
Take that, every other writer.
Exactly.
Yeah, really. Yeah, that's what I felt. It's like, look, my mission statement on Earth, in between being a superhero and being a space cop and being a pharaoh prince and everything else you've ever heard about me, all background noise to my real mission of trying to unravel the mystery of this metal that might be nth metal, but might not be nth metal now. Because apparently there's 8, possibly 9 metals that everyone's after, maybe, I think.
Yeah, when he said 9th metal, I was like, is 9th metal going to be shortened to nth metal?
That's what I thought. Because it's like, yeah, it's a weird word. We get to see the Council of Immortals, which I thought was an amazing idea. Because you see Vandal Savage and Ra's al Ghul, Wizard Shazam, And probably my favorite pull, I don't know who caught this, but like Ra's al Ghul is talking to a woman named Miss Seward. That's Mary Seward, Bloody Mary from I, Vampire. And I'm like, holy
cow.
Yeah, no,
and Snyder's like,
just that whole, like, him talking about, like, just the various people who were there. We get an Etrigan drop. We get a Cain and Abel drop. I'm like...
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I lost my mind at that.
Like,
I love
that's a
House
deep
of Mystery
dive,
and House
Snyder.
of Secrets.
and Cain, who might also be Phantom Stranger if the old continuity is still in place, that's what he was. Or no, who was Cain? Was Phantom Stranger Cain, or was there a new version of Question Cain? I forget.
That I don't know, because my experience with Cain and Abel comes strictly from Vertigo.
There you go.
Me too.
Could be. But yeah, I love that he worked in frickin' I, Vampire. Scott Snyder's like, oh yeah, and I wrote I, Vampire too, in case you're wondering.
Don't forget.
He talks about, too, a man as old as America. Is he talking about, like, Uncle Sam from...
Yeah,
Uncle Sam
so.
and the Freedom Fighters isn't immortal?
Yeah, why not?
I'm powered by patriotism.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so the Wizard Shazam has a dagger, which ironically has the same colors as Black Bolt, and that's his piece of the metal that the Immortals were trying to deal with. They couldn't, is the deal, but the Hawk still tried to work with it. Batman is trying to find Hephaestus, the Greek god of the Forge, which makes sense. If anyone would know anything about metal, it would be him. Only for Wonder Woman to be like, hey, Dingus, read my book more often. The gods and Earth are on the outs at the moment. But they came to me in a dream and said to give you this +2 sun sword of plot. But don't trade it, though. And Batman's like, okay, I won't trade it.
Immediately.
Then he
Cut to...
Immediately, he finds an old Cadmus research facility where Double X is. I'm a big fan of Double X. I like Double X made it back before Connor Kent made it back.
Right?
I thought that was pretty funny. I'm like, hey, where's your buddy Connor, Double X?
They're like, no, you can't have Connor. Get over it.
So yeah, apparently everyone who's anyone in the DC universe has been working on this whole like metal mystery and this whole metal conspiracy. Then Talia shows up. We haven't seen Talia in a very long time, and she's like, "Hey, I actually want to one up my dad in the League of Assassins because I want me and Leviathan to crack this case, and I already have one of the pieces of metal, but I like yours. Can we trade?" And Batman's like, "Well, I really shouldn't because you're a villain, but you're also the father of my kid, and we've boned a lot, so okay." I just imagine Wonder Woman somewhere just face palming like, I told you not to.
like literally, it wasn't even that like difficult to like decode. Talia literally says the same thing. It's all you had to do was remember, like 10 minutes ago, seemingly.
Because apparently there's good metal and bad metal, and the good metal is getting corrupted and becoming dark metal, which is corrupting everything around it, and that's a problem. And then they go even deeper to where Hawkman's like, so here's the thing, right? If you look at the oldest cave paintings in the world, it shows the Hawk tribe, of which I continually get reincarnated into, fighting a bunch of demon worshippers like Hothset, the long-running Hawkman and Hawkwoman villain. They were demon worshippers, and what they took for their symbol is the bat. And we see cave paintings that look like Barbaros, that Grant Morrison evil bat god villain. Yeah. And then Hawkman goes a step further and says, all throughout history, it has been a battle between birds and bats, from the ancient hawk and bat tribes to the Court of Owls versus Batman. And I'm like, you're just pulling everything into this, aren't you, Scott Snyder? And I haven't even touched on the Joker shit yet. So while this is going on, Joker is torturing Duke and Green Lantern in the cave. And apparently Joker also got the metal inside his body too, because that was the Dionysium that brought him back to life at the end of Endgame. He saw many of the same like hieroglyphics when he fell down to Earth. And he says that the metal that brought him back to life also brought back his insanity, because at the end of Endgame, he was normal. And then he just kind of showed up here and he was Joker again. Hilariously, Joker hates the metal conspiracy, and he's like, "No, this isn't fun.
Right?
This is gonna kill Batman. I need to save him from the metal conspiracy, so me and him can just go back to having fun Cape Crusader Clown Prince times." He really lets Duke have it too, saying, "You're the useless Robin. You're the one no one wanted. He only wanted you for one reason, and that is apparently that Duke is a metahuman, and he's a metahuman because his mother is a metahuman." Batman was aware of this, and they seek to imply, I don't know if they meant this just for Duke and his mom, and probably the characters that are going to be in this new Dark Universe imprint that's spinning out of Dark Knight's metal. But Joker would seek to imply that anyone who is metahuman in the DC universe literally has the magic metal running in their veins, and that's why they have powers. I know a fan of ours, Carrie Awful, he's actually a professional indie wrestler. He's a big fan of ours. He's like, Joel, did they just retcon the whole universe right now? And I'm like, I don't know, Carrie. I don't know if they did or if they didn't.
I really hope they didn't.
I think this is literally just to set up the creation myth for the Dark Universe when they spin that off into its own thing. And then we're not even done yet, because the final big one is we go back to the Resurrection Machine, which has been a staple of Scott Snyder's work, Thorgy. We've seen quite a few issues where he went to the future, and we knew Batman was working on a machine so he could never die, so he could keep, like, essentially download himself into a new body and fight back. Apparently, he says he actually did try and use it once. And we see multiple deaths of his that might have been deaths in other universes or other continuities.
Well, now, wasn't he referencing at the end of Endgame when he didn't have any memory being Batman and he had to put those memories back in his head?
Yes, okay, thank you for clearing that. Yes, he says, I used the machine to get my memories back and become myself again. Only when I did, using the Dionysium, using the metal, I saw a bunch of raw shit I shouldn't have seen. I saw secrets of the universe, the Dark Knights, and this whole metal conspiracy, and I've been working on it ever since. And Joker tried to smash the machine. Duke, his powers awaken. Duke goes Super Saiyan, and with a loner Green Lantern ring is able to rebuild the machine, only for us to go underground to see a group of bat cultists singing the praises of the Dark Knights that are coming. These are the evil multiversal Batman that we've seen the cover of, the covers detailing, and that this is what they've been building towards, and that's where the comic ends.
Yeah, thank you, first of all.
I think I covered it all. I think I got everything.
There's literally things in that description I don't even remember from this. Like when you said like the dark metal corrupting the good, I was like, I read this. I don't remember that part at all.
I must have missed that as well. I didn't get that at all. We definitely see Snyder too putting more emphasis on Duke, which is fine. Here's the thing about Duke.
I like Duke.
There's no
problem. Yeah, I like Duke.
What the problem is when Snyder's like, Duke! You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, let Duke do Duke things. Let Duke flourish. Like, don't cram him at people, you know? Like, don't make him, like, because I think the Joker, like, kind of refers to him almost as, like, the signal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like...
Yeah, that's what he says. You're the signal, and then, like, he starts glowing there at the end, and I was like, okay.
Yeah. And it's like, and like, here's the thing. There are some interesting elements to that. I was actually talking to Sal about this. Just the idea that, like, you know, Robin in its, you know, initial inception was supposed to be like the light side, the target, and essentially to Batman, right? So that's like, essentially that was originally Dick Grayson. Now, of course, we've had many Robins since then. But it's kind of, it's an interesting choice for Snyder to be like, no, Duke is the light to Batman's dark. And I don't know how that's going to play out, but that's kind of how it felt like the Joker was putting it in this issue. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, all the Robins have had a place, each and every one of them. But, like Snyder sometimes treats Duke as an outsider, but he's also like, no, he's super important simultaneously. And it's just like, you don't have to create angst for us. Every Robin has angst because he's Robin. You know? Like,
I was going to say, there's room... Or no, go ahead.
Duke Thomas being a kid who really likes puzzles and really enjoys just playing card games, but his mom gets turned into a Joker, and now he's like, I'm going to go out there and try and be, you know, try and make Gotham better because that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Duke Thomas leading an army of Robins, and then he goes over to this, and now he's, you know, I don't even know what he is over in this, where now he's the super meta Batman who opens the gateway to all portals. It's like, yeah, dude, comic book fans are, I know that constantly we see people online who's like, I don't like anything new. It's like, the vast majority of comic book fans are not like that. The vast majority of fans enjoy seeing new stuff come about. They just don't enjoy it being shoved in your face.
That's it.
Like, they don't enjoy someone stopping, turning to the camera and going, this is really important now. Like, we can figure this stuff out. Yeah, we get it.
There was a rumor I was reading online, because once this is all said and done, and once they spin the silencer and all this other stuff off into their own side universe or their own imprint, Snyder is going to be writing, what was it, like Champions of the Unknown, something of the Unknown. They're bringing that back.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think maybe Duke is going to go over and he's going to like, not like headline, but he's going to anchor that book and be like, look, we still got a connection to Batman in the main universe over here. Right. Duke just found out he was part of something bigger. So now he's going to go hang out in the dark universe, the dark imprint, whatever they're calling it.
Right. What's interesting, too, is that literally, and I know these are not necessarily connected to what's going on in Tom King's Batman, right?
Yeah. No, so, they sure don't seem to be.
Exactly. But, King just semi-invites a new member of the Bat family, in a way, who has powers in Gotham Girl. You know what I mean? Like, we see someone being a part of that actually can do something, like, as a metahuman, instead of just being like, I trained really hard, you know what I mean? And, like, look, I know Clayface and all that stuff, right, is part of Detective Comics right now, but I'm thinking the more personal side of the Bat family, where it's just like, hey, I had, like, Alfred take care of you, and you had to deal with Psychopirate and all that stuff. And then we see Snyder being like, and Duke might also have powers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't, just, like, let Duke be cool. Like, just let him be cool without, like, trying to make him cool. Like, he could be cool all on his own. Like,
yeah, and I get that every Robin needs their own thing, but like I said, Duke already has his own thing. He's the one who likes puzzles. Gee, if only Batman had an entire section of his rogues gallery dedicated to that. It's like, just have me Duke Thomas solving Riddler riddles. Have me going toe-to-toe with that guy.
Yep.
That's what he did in the backup issues of All-Star Batman. It was good.
Yeah, like he was going up against Mr. Zsasz or something, wasn't it? Like, yeah.
And then in the next one, he fought the Riddler.
Oh, okay. I didn't read past that one. Okay, cool.
It was actually pretty solid. Again, it was like, hey, here's a really hard Riddler puzzle while Batman's away. Can you solve it, Duke? Yeah, I can.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just kind of weird that they're stopping doing that. But it's like, I don't really have a problem so much with them doing it with Duke as the fact that they're kind of doing it with the entire universe in this. Especially Batman. You guys remember what I said about Miles Morales just a couple minutes ago? I was like, have Miles be the kid from Brooklyn, and he's growing up learning to be Spider-Man. This is all happening. It's like, no, now he's the stranger from an alternate universe. Have Bruce Wayne be the kid whose parents got shot in an alleyway, then he went off and trained for a bunch of years, and now he's the world's greatest detective. Don't have him be the reincarnation of this forever legacy of Bat people that date back to the dawn of time. It's like, this is so not what I want from Batman. And
also, didn't Morrison already touch on this idea of Batman being part of a greater legacy, but it was a self-fulfilling time prophecy because he went back and did the thing?
Yeah, and if you'll notice, nobody really brings that up, and that's one of my main problems with this whole idea of like, oh, well, it's metal in all our bloods that cause, it's midichlorians in all our bloods that give us superpowers. Yeah. That, and also Batman being part of like this reincarnating tribe, like 2 years from now, no one will ever mention that again because comic book fans have the history in their minds, and everybody thinks I'm going to go in here and change that history. And you can't. It's in our heads. You can only move forward. Like, if you're going to change history, it has to be something like The Winter Soldier, where it's like, we change history, but it doesn't affect anything until this point now and then everything in the future. I don't know what I'm doing with my hands so much. Sorry.
I like it.
But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, it could be something cool. It could be something where you form a whole bunch of new villains who are like, well, I'm going to like harness all this energy and give myself even more powers. I'm going to become a metal vampire. And if I kill other metas, I become like Morlun and I get powers. Like, you can do cool stuff with it. But I've seen so many people try stuff like this and it never really sticks. So I don't really have a lot of faith in it. And also, I'll be totally honest with you. This is my most unpopular opinion in all comics.
Here we go.
Ooh.
I don't really like Scott Snyder's Batman.
Oh, dun 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 dun.
I know. Let the chat light up on that. But it's like, I don't really like him. And one of the reasons I don't really like the way that Scott Snyder writes Batman is because I like the detective. I like the guy who's got a belt and a brain, and that's his powers. Scott Snyder's Batman is the guy who can beat anyone because he has infinite prep time. And I don't like that version of Batman all that much. And when I'm reading and like everything from his Batman run, it was like, I have this ultimate weapon that I've always planned for, and it's always been sitting there. It's always been Ray in the past, and you guys didn't know about it, but I brought it out now to mention it. And this whole thing, I was really intrigued in issue 1. And issue 2, I'm just kind of like, oh, so the metal is in all this? It does kind of feel almost like he's coming in here, and it's like, but Batman is that one guy who's that special enough to be able to figure all this out. It's like, can't you do something with Superman for once? Wonder Woman, she's got the golden sword to begin with. How come she's not fixing this problem?
Right.
Well, it also kind of looks to be like a stealth backdoor pilot for new Hawkman, too. It's like, but Hawkman was actually super important this whole time, guys.
Oh, dude, if it turns out that Hawkman is the one who saves the day, I will totally rescind that complaint and come back and be like, all right, you know what? He didn't do it.
We're getting 2 issues. We're getting Batman Lost and Hawkman Found, 2, like, special issues in this event, so maybe.
I gotta tell you, I think what, gets to me the most about this, because here's the thing, like, I liked Court of Owls, and I'm one of those people who, like, enjoyed the idea of playing around with, like, Jim Gordon being Batman since he'd done it for so long. I'm not saying that's the greatest thing ever, but, like, that's cool. Like, let the man who has watched Batman try to be Batman and realize I can't be Batman.
Yeah, and also, that to me, like, so many people in my store hated that. Like, so many people, like, big fans of Scott Snyder Run, they were coming into my stores like, when is this going to end? When is Bruce Wayne coming back? Like, I saw people getting emotional over this.
Oh, no.
It was like the one, like, I love Court of Owls, but then after that, I didn't really care for anything until it got to Jim Gordon as Batman. I was like, oh my God, it's a detective as Batman.
Yeah.
He doesn't have all the answers just there in his supercomputer. I'm totally okay. I'm enjoying this so much more.
Detective Comics was awesome in that run, too, because it was a GCPD book, and I liked that.
Yeah. But for me, this comes down to, like, when you think about, there's always the comparison of Marvel and DC, Marvel being, like, the world outside your window, and DC being, like, the archetype. They're the gods, you know what I mean? And Batman and oftentimes Green Arrow, they're the men among gods, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're the people who, like, we can connect to in a sense. Certainly not because they're both incredibly wealthy, intelligent people, who are both highly trained and have incredible skills. But it gives you that hope, you know what I mean? Like, they're the Prometheus of all of this, you know? They're the, like, hey, I'm gonna keep the gods in check because, yes, they're good, but I have to remind them that we are but mortals. To do this to Batman, to potentially put him into this role of, like, a higher myth, kind of strips him of that humanity, and I'm just a little concerned how he's going to come out the other end of this.
That's the other big problem that I have with Scott Snyder's run on Batman. It really stripped him of his humanity, and it got to that point in Endgame where it's like, I have the device that will keep me as Batman forever, but it must destroy all these alternate realities that I built in my mind of me being Batman. I was like, who are you? What is this? This is not in any way, shape, or form. Like, this is some weird part Tony Stark, part, like, creepypasta horror thing. I don't even know what you're doing. That's the other thing that I gotta say about Dark Metal so far. Scott Snyder's bag is horror.
Oh,
and, like,
yeah,
this is definitely Lovecraftian.
Oh, God,
And I'm okay with that, because another problem I have with Scott Snyder's Batman is that almost every villain he created was just the Slender Man. And I was like, okay, there's no way you can fit Slender Man into this.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, like,
I might try.
Yeah.
Mr. Bloom was super Slender Man looking.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Bloom, that's the obvious one that everybody goes to, but Court of Owls, a bunch of dudes in suits with white faces that don't move, and when Batman stares at him, he goes crazy. Yeah. And then Joker, when he came back for Endgame, he crawls out from underneath people's beds, and he kept popping up in old pictures in the background. It's like, oh my God, dude, come on. I get that. I get
He's
that
a
you
fade
read
demon.
I get that you read creepypasta and you got freaked out by it, but come on.
Yeah. All right.
But this is definitely Cthulhu stuff, and it's like, okay, that's new. That's new. And also,
that's exactly it.
And that's another thing that I'll say. We've seen so many giant events seem to follow a pattern. I've never seen the horror giant crossover event.
No.
That's definitely new. So that definitely has me intrigued.
Yeah, absolutely. So overall, I gotta tell you, this book was dense, and I know we've said that before about certain other books that are coming out right now. This book was dense. I feel like if you plan on wanting to read the metal, like, event that's going on with Snyder, you're gonna have to pick these up.
Yes, you are.
Just based on how detail-oriented these stories are and how much of a dump it is, in a sense, where it's like this weird, like, hey, it's kind of for new people because we're going to be spawning this new universe, but at the same time, it's just chock full of things just for old readers who the new people could never understand what's happening to some degree. You got to pick it up if you have any interest in this. You got to be reading these right now. Again, you get a lot of bang for your buck though. They are like very long stories, and there's a lot of panels in each of them. And don't forget the fact you're getting 3 artists on this, so don't feel like you're going crazy as the art style is shifting, because it certainly does. And they have 3 fairly different artists in Lee.
It is a tad jarring at times, yeah.
Especially when we hit Romita, and I'm like, oh my god, Romita.
Yeah. That just adds to the cosmic horror, man. It unsettles you.
Yeah, that's not, no.
Romita and Lee and Kubert, they're pretty similar. It's like, okay, I got that, but as soon as Romita comes in, you screech on the brakes.
Yeah, it's like something punch you in the face. But all right, we do have one more book if you guys are feeling up to it, because I know we've run a little bit over because I knew this was going to be a big one with the casting. But Aaron, if you want to talk about Jean Grey #4, go ahead. But if you want to just bring it to a close, it's fine too. Whatever you want to do.
I feel like I should, because I've complained about so many books. Not complain, but it's just like, okay, it's fine. I legit like this one. I am happy about this book.
Yay.
So I get to go out on a good note. I have been loving the Jean Grey book. It's by Dennis Hopeless, who his Spider-Woman series. Man, that was one of my favorite things at Marvel for a long time. Well, not a long time. He didn't write it that long. But I really dug it.
You touched a nerve for Tiffany because of what Hopeless has done to Doctor Strange.
I don't like his Doctor Strange right now, but it's part of the tie-ins.
That's her favorite.
So I can't really judge it.
Is it part of the tie-ins? Like, yeah, who knows? Because, yeah, his Spider-Woman series started off on a tie-in, and I have, in the past 2 months, had 3 people come to my store saying they wanted to start reading Spider-Woman, and I had to stop and go, don't read Volume 1. Just skip. I know it makes no sense. Just skip it. So like, okay, we'll see what happens after the tie-in. Also, it's just he doesn't seem like a fit for Doctor Strange. He does not seem like he should be in that at all. I
gotta say, Spider-Woman's in it too, and it's clear he's still trying to write her.
Yeah,
so I'm like, that's not whose name's on the cover.
Yeah. But yeah, so I really dug his Spider-Woman. So I was kind of hopeful. I was like, okay, Jean Grey, let's see what you do. And I think he does a little too much. I don't know what word to use for this, but Tumblr speak in there, where basically it's like, oh my God, I can't even, like that kind of talk. It's like, I don't think people say that out loud as often as you think it does. But after issue 1, that died down a lot. Okay. That has not been there nearly as much. But basically what's happening is she knows that the Phoenix is coming back to Earth, which if you've been reading Mighty Thor, at the very end of that Shi'ar War tie-in, the Phoenix starts heading to Earth and goes, there's someone I gotta find.
And also Thane has it in Thanos, but let's not talk about that.
Yeah. Jeez. Oh, God. But yeah, so she knows that's coming. And like in issue 2, she goes to everybody who's been possessed by the Phoenix before. He goes, okay, how can I stop this? How do you guys get through it? And they would just basically said, we didn't get through this. See inside our minds. And she like sees inside Colossus's mind, inside Quentin Quire's mind. And like all of them are doing stuff in the mind, but then there's the giant Phoenix just standing over them like, I'm here for you at all times. Just like you see like Colossus is just out there like tilling the fields, just pushing a big old...
As he does.
Yeah, as he does. But then, like, everything around him is on fire. She's like, are you okay? He's like, yeah, why wouldn't I? And then the Phoenix is just burning all his crops. So it's like, it's really cool. Plus, someone just, like, donated cash, so we might want to call
no, I was going to wait. I'm waiting for the break.
Sorry.
Muad, Charlie, thank you so much for your super chat. They want to know, how is Zorn the leader of the new TN in X-Men?
Because it's not really Zorn. It's the White Queen Emma Frost manipulating the mind of Zorn. She's the real power behind it, is the thing.
She's
really?
She's also, like, super paranoid about Magneto.
She also has a shard of the cube that she stole from Shang-Chi, which means that Cap and Hydra might be going to war with the mutants soon unless Beast can smooth that over her.
Yep.
Someone read Game of Thrones before writing this. Okay. But yeah, so basically she just goes, okay, the Phoenix destroys everyone it touches. How can I stop the Phoenix? And she goes to talk to Namor, because he also had possessed. And then Namor, there is a great, like, one issue of her just underwater, and Namor gets paralyzed by this poison from this giant fish. And then she has to fight it off while Namor is just like, just put the trident in my mouth. I'll fight this thing. You don't even know what you're doing. Come on. It's a great Namor moment. But she's able to fight it off, and she stabs this giant monster and is like, you know what? What you need to do, don't get possessed by it. Kill the Phoenix before it even touches you. And then she's like, well, that's next to impossible, but I've seen my only other option. I have to figure out a way to kill it. So in this issue, basically every issue after this is going to be her going to a different hero and training to figure out a way to kill the Phoenix. Okay. This issue, she goes to Unworthy Thor because she's like, you kill giant monsters all the time. Teach me how. And she climbs like the top of a mountain where there's just a little bar sitting up there, like on the edge of a cliff. And it's not even like an Asgardian bar. It's like a normal human bar. but like Thor is its only customer that goes in there, which I just found that to be such a cool thing. Because she goes in there and she finds all these orcs that are going to attack him. And she runs in there and she's freaking out. It's like, oh my God, you guys, there's a bunch of orcs that are going to come up here and they're going to attack you, but you need to get sobered up right now because you're really drunk right now, Thor. I don't know how you're drunk. Let me get some coffee and put it in you right now. And she starts like barring up the door. And Thor's just there like, I don't care. Whatever. I'm Thor.
Yeah,
It's
I don't know
fine.
if you know this. Like,
I'm better when I'm drunk.
it's a secret.
I
He's
can
drunk
see
all
my
the
hair
time.
just fine. But yeah, so there's the two of them like having to fight off these orcs, and while they're fighting it, Thor's like, this reminds me of another time. And he just gives all these other lessons about times that he fought impossible odds. And then at the end of it, Jean is just so frustrated with him, she summons out a giant psychic hammer and starts beating the orcs with that, kind of like how Quentin Fire does with like his guns or Psylocke does with swords. She summons out a giant Thor hammer to do it. And then he goes, that's what I was trying to teach you. And then he's like, you're not even drunk, are you? It's like, no, I'm Thor. I don't get that way. It's like, I found out these orcs were going to attack me. I took them up to the one place where no one is around so we could go one-on-one, mano-a-mano. You show up, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm already pretending to be drunk to lure the orcs into a false sense of esteem, a false sense of hope. So, all right, and they basically like, all those stories, they were lessons. They were lessons about building up your courage, building up your guts, getting you worthy enough to go out there and fight something like this. And it's like, man, this is just so fun that you have Jean Grey going from hero to hero, and every one of them gives them a lesson. Namor taught her how to be a badass and stand up to a giant monster. Thor taught her about confidence and about building yourself up. It's like, all right, this is really cool. And it's like, I love the fact that you know there's the end point. Mm-hmm. The end point is she's going to have to fight that Phoenix.
Yeah.
What's going to happen when that comes around? And next issue is her going to Psylocke, learning about how to actually make weapons with her like psychic powers. So it's like, okay, what's the next person going to teach her? So yeah, I am loving that. This book is just insanely charming. Like I said, I thought the dialogue was a little bit in the first issue, but since then, it's really cleaned up. I love that in this issue, they really captured that she just found out an army of orcs is going to attack, and she reacts the way that any teenager would to that. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to die. What's going to happen here? And she's running around. Very human moment. Really like gets you connected to that character. And I really dug just her interactions with Thor. That's one of those things that's like, man, those are two people I never would have pictured like in the same room together.
I wouldn't have read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it was such a weird pull to get, but it worked so well in this. And I love that every single issue, it's not just a day in the life of Jean Grey. It's next step, next step, next step. Everything is leading towards a moment. So out of all the X-Men books, this might be actually, this is hands down my favorite one out there at the moment.
Wow.
I'm really digging this series.
That's awesome. So either Jean Grey is on the journey to kill the Phoenix or to become the ultimate weapon for the Phoenix.
Yes, exactly.
But it sounds super awesome. So there you go, guys. If you're looking for an X-Men book, you heard it from Aaron right there. This is one of his favorite X-Men books out there, and it's only on issue 4, so it's super easy to go back and grab the rest of them and have a fun journey. Like I said, like it's kind of fun to have these like just fun, nice superhero stories in the midst of these big events that are going on, where it's just like seriousness is smacking you in the face at all times. Cap. So there you go. That's it. That's literally all the comics we have to talk about this week. There were more that were read. Certainly more by this guy right here, right there. He's over there. But other than that, guys, we are so thankful for everyone hanging out with us. But most importantly, we are so thankful for our guests, Aaron, Professor Thorgy himself. You know what? If they want to find you, where can they find you? What are you doing? When are you doing it? Give it all to me.
Thank you guys for having me on. I want to say that first. But
pleasure.
Yeah, you can find me. My YouTube channel is Professor Thorgy. Pretty simple. YouTube.com/C/Professor Thorgy. I don't know why they wanted to put the C in there. That's a weird thing that YouTube does. Anyway, that goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the episode.
Right.
But you can also find me on Twitter, Twitch, and Tumblr at Professor Thorgy. I basically just got that name across the board, so you can find me anywhere at Professor Thorgy. But yeah, as I said, every single Wednesday we do comic book videos. But if you guys enjoy other geeky things, every single weekend we always have movie reviews and spoiler discussions about said movie. But then we'll also, when I have time, throw in maybe some video game discussion or a TV discussion. So we just have fun on the channel.
That is awesome. That sounds great. If you guys are watching this afterwards, we'll try to put all the links to find Aaron Thorgy, whatever you want to call him. Call him friend. Down in the description box, down below, down there. And of course, in the comments, let us know what your favorite books were this week, and if you'd like to see Aaron come back on the show, because we'd love to know, of course. And then I also want to mention, actually, I'm taking this away from Joel. Joel, you do it. I said.
Oh yeah, hey. Hey, in case you didn't know, The Pull, the show you're watching right now, The Weekly Pull, that's the show you watch on Tuesday, and the Elseworlds Exchange, which is the comic pop show that I host and Tiff hosts, and we all host over there. We've all been nominated in the 2017 Podcast Awards, so thank you. It would mean a ton to us if you went over to podcastawards.com. It's just that simple. Make a very small account. All you need is a valid email, and then you can vote for us. We are nominated in a bunch of different fields, including viewer choice and a few other ones, entertainment. I don't remember the exact ones, but we are nominated. Check it out. I think we got a real good chance to win, and we're not in competition with anyone, so you can actually vote for all of the shows, and it would be really awesome if you did.
Yes, and thank you to our moms for putting that in the chat here, and I'm sure we'll put that one down in the description box, down below, down there. And of course, if you want to hang out with an awesome community of comic book fans, you can go over to the Discord, which hopefully that link will also appear in the chat at some point. I'm summoning the mods, hopefully. And don't forget to come back every Tuesday for the weekly poll, where we talk about all sorts of comic book, pop culture, news, exciting things, spoiler casts, all kinds of things happen over there, and then come back every Thursday to talk about comics that came out this week. And again, thank you so much, Aaron, for being on today. This was awesome. I had a really good time.
Oh, I love doing it. This was a ton of fun.
You were a great guest. I don't mind saying that on air. You were a great guest. I had a good time.
Thank you.
So there you go.
That 2 hours just flew by.
Hey, we're at one.
I feel so bad for my dog. I was like, this is like an hour-long show. Yeah, he can wait.
Yeah, no. Once we hit Batman, I was like, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. But it's been a good conversation, so I'm gonna let it go. So go. We're gonna end the show now because we got pets and food and stuff.
Yep.
I don't know.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Bye.